Morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Hello, friends, just coming in. Welcome to Rise of the Sacred Sovereign, where we are going to have some conversations. Everybody in the world is having conversations. First of all, happy Mother's Day week. These are for you. They're weeds. Well, they're flowers. There's no such thing, right? Welcome, welcome. If you don't know me, my name is Jayashree Dow-Spielman. I am a spiritual educator and ascension coach. I am the author of 2 books, The Third Coming. I am a mom of a homeschooling, gorgy 4-year-old wild child daughter named Narayani Lev. And with my beautiful husband, Kalanidhi Das, I support Bhakta Bandhav Dham, which is a Bhakti Yoga ashram and retreat center here in the Lower Catskills. We are also Sanctuary Mission Trust, and we do receive donations. Something just told me to say that. As well, I'm the creator of the Soul Mapping Matrix and the Soul Culture Yoga School. We are all live. Hello, hello. Yes, hello to my friends on all the platforming streams. Rise of the Sacred Sovereign is a conversation between you and me. If you have any questions, put them in there. So what have I been thinking about? What have I been thinking about? I have been working on boundaries, just like you. Yes, you can go as far down the river as you wish. You can manifest as much as you can. You can get a house, you can have children, you can have a career, 1, 2, or 3. They can shift, they can change, but you will still come up into the realm of needing to hold sacred space to be sovereign. And what do I mean by sovereign? I mean self-agency. I mean so that the inner matches the outer, so that we can feel, hear, and see all of the emotions without being freaking afraid to. I'm just trying so much to clean these blue light glasses. How do you see, hear, and feel all of your emotions? Haribol Manjari. How do you see, hear, and feel all of your emotions, even if you're a spiritual follower, even if you are a spiritual practitioner? How do you run a business as a spiritual practitioner? How about all of, this is what today is. I'm just going to call a few things out. Things I'm working with, things I'm always working with. How to hold intentional space and be a spiritual practitioner without cutting off needs and cutting off the idea that we are made of a desire to be happy. Because the Atma, the soul inside of us, we are the jivas, the embodied, walking around, we're human beings. We're walking around with desire because we're made of it. Haribo. So if we're made of desire, that means we're going to want. And if we want, what shall we do with that? Why don't we make our spiritual aspirations go higher? And why are we so freaking afraid to talk about this word higher? Because there's always an evolution of spirit, and there's always an evolution of intellectualism, which is materialism, right? The material aspects of the world are intelligence, but the spiritual are devotional. And because this is a both-and world, my work is to bridge the spiritual and the devotional with the intellectual and material, only to say you can be incredibly intelligent. You can have a ton of data. I come from an amazing family. So many do. And nothing, no qualms about their devotion nor their intellectualism. Everyone has different choices, and everyone comes from different lineage. And I grew up Jewish. So that means there's going to be a lot of atheists. It's true, though. A lot of spiritual, aka religious people, aren't exactly in their devotional spiritual. They're more in following a dharma or an etiquette. And they end up getting angry and in pain because we all go through trauma and pain. And once we go through a tremendous trauma and pain and we don't heal it, we get resentful and we don't believe in God anymore. And then we become atheists. And that is just kind of how it goes for many people. So my work is to bridge, and my husband's work is to bridge the material aspects of leading a family or having and supporting a business or multiple businesses, especially as an entrepreneur, which is a next level conversation, as well as having relationships with the material energy. And, the Vedas are awesome because they give us Varnashram, which I won't go into too much right now, but they give us these systems. And you and I, as women or as men or as pioneers, as healers, as spiritual seekers, we keep bumping up against that. I do. Even if it happens once every 20 years, even if it happens only twice in a lifetime, there's going to be a moment where we bump up against the material platform or system in our life that we built, that you built, along with your teachers and your family and your guide and your institutions and your ecclesiastical, collegiate, academic atmospheres that brought us to a platform of intellectual wisdom or knowledge. But just because we are given a certificate does not mean that we have advanced spiritually, because spirituality is consciousness, and consciousness cannot be seen. So I've been working a lot on that myself. I've been working on boundaries. I've been working on pushing my limits of not pushing. I've been working on radical authenticity, radical self-care. And you know what I figured out? Because personally, I won't share too much because I saved that for my private groups. And by the way, I'm very excited because I'm going to be launching a private group for my Majestic Council. Yes, if you have been, following me for years and years and you haven't seen me because I was raising a baby and buying a house, well, I'm coming back along with the Soul Mapping Matrix and the integration of the Soul Culture Yoga School to bring the Majestic Council into a private group. So I'll tell you more then. But to share a little bit, as I always do, migraines are a bitch. And they are a karmic, subtle, energetic battle. Yes, there's the physical stuff, like, my family and I, it's genetic that our brains swell if we eat gluten or soy. Something like that. And then I hit some moose, and so my atlas shifts off all the time. I'm hypermobile, which means I'm awesome, but I also have to work structure, right? In yoga speech, core. So as I work, sorry about that, as I work through all of those systems and karmas and I connect to the boundaries, there's a point where my pain threshold is so high that I have to flip out. I have to have that complete Stargate opening because, of course, it's very connected to the sun, the moon, the star, and the skies. It's all of that. And if I don't have some system and use some medication, if I decide that I'm going to do it all on my own, if I decide that allopathic is somehow not good, if I decide that all the naturopath and holistic herbs and plants are the only way, and yet all the drogas, right, that's Sanskrit, or the medications and allopathic medicines that have come from those same plants are not okay, or if I, on the other side, if you decide that only chemicals that are man-made or copied from the earth are okay, but no herbs and plants, like you can't eat a dandelion out of your own backyard, then that is also too rigid. So rigidity is not the same as discipline. It's not the same as tapasya. And so my experience lately has been, oh my God, I decided at some point that one was okay and the other was not. And when I do that, I shrink my consciousness. I shrink my ability to connect the spiritual with the material. And thus I am not anymore a practicing human, but I have become the idea of a practicing human. And, Soul Mapping Matrix is a system and a navigation tool that bridges that work for me. And that's why I keep coming back to it. And that's why I offer it to so many, and probably why I have a pretty good success rate of people who use it. it's not just business. It's not just marriage. It's not just homeschooling. It's not just learning asanas. It's what happens within the integration after you learn a thing or after you get the information of a thing. There is an integration period, and that is always happening. And boundaries are the practice between the data and the information to that moment where you have had the integration and you grew from it and you've advanced. Perhaps that's why they call it manifestation. That moment after the moment in between the moment where you see, hear, and feel the miracles unfold in your life, where the divine timing and flow is there, and you're like, I like to just be above pain. I like to just be like riding a little bit where I can get stuff done instead of being down in the depths of hell, which is what trauma and pain is. So today I'm meditating on how I can show up and allow myself to be seen in the world, where we not only remember that we're all mothers and we're all traumatized, that we're all in pain, that we're all working together to find some stability, but that we're also gorgeous, happy, funny, stupid, silly, not stupid, but silly and joyful and innocent, and we make mistakes, human beings that not only have to make mistakes and feel like horrible in that mistake, but that actually can grow devotionally through a higher consciousness and a higher practice, a higher mantra, a higher sound, a higher vibration. I'm just me, but a higher moment in time where all of our chakras or all of our happy moments or all of our buzz or all of our intelligence wakes up and we say, yes, there's something more. Yes, I want that. And when you have that seed desire for something higher, I'm a poet. When you have that seed desire for something higher, you are connected to yourself as a sacred sovereign soul, because we are made of desire. It is spoken thus clearly in the oldest, most ancient texts in the world, which are the Vedas, which means it's probably somewhere either hidden in all your other texts or my other texts, or maybe it's spoken to, because that's what they do. That's the controversy that we need to talk about. All the goddess energy, all the beauty of Vedanta, of divinity, of all sacred masculine and divine feminine gets perverted and twisted and changed in modern society. And so, talking about boundaries, talking about dealing with the reality of what makes you uncomfortable, I can guarantee you when this started, if a person was watching me and they were like, oh, she's too happy, or oh, she's not wearing makeup, or she's like all over the place, like, where's she going to bring it to? Is there a point? There's always a point, but you have to wait for it. You have to get to it, right? Because the good stuff is always, the nectar is always hidden. It's actually not right there. It's actually when you start digging deeper that you get to it. So that which is easy and that which is available is not always the higher or the deepest wisdom. And that is why doing the work of whatever you do, whether you do soul mapping with me, which soul mapping is like a microcosm of the internal experience of awakening, not only in this body, but in the mind, intelligence, ego, and then up higher into the subtle energetic realms, which means psychic awareness, and then higher into what the Vedas call the wisdom of self-realization, or that which Bhakti Yoga and even Gyan teaches, but more Bhakti, so that you can walk around being a sacred, sovereign, devotional being, but in this material world. That's what soul mapping is. Maybe you do that with the Bible. Maybe you read the Bible every day and it gives you that wisdom. Amen. Maybe you are I mean, probably not watching this if you're a super Orthodox Jew, but maybe you're practicing it in other ways. You're doing talk therapy, but talk therapy, psychotherapy, becoming a dentist, becoming a certain path of being a doctor, that's all great, but then what's next? Because in this world, really being able to be pushed on your consciousness and boundaries, and as well as self-agency, being able to talk about all the hot button topics, again, which we do more in private often, but publicly as well. If we want to get there, we're going to have to look at the systems. I have to look at my systems. I have to look at the medication. I have to not accept that which is false to me because I have already practiced it. This happened recently. I cannot accept that which I already know is not my core value and not my principles. And if you do not have a system to do that or a navigation tool, it's really hard. And personally, I love, going higher, and I love doing it with my clients and my friends. So I sort of alluded today to the fact that this Rise of the Sacred Sovereign is going to continue in a format, but if you are interested in coming along with me into my private Majestic Council group, if you'd like to talk about the Soul Culture Yoga School or the Soul Mapping Matrix program, please be in touch with me. Go to jayshriyoga.com and just tune in to yourself. Ask the question, what's my epic up level? What is it I want to experience? And more importantly, what boundary or boundaries keep getting crossed that I simply am not saying no to? Because the only way you can say no, or the only way you can say yes, is that you have to say no first. Yeah? It's a both and world. It's a both and world. If you want to get in touch, please do. Thank you guys for joining me. And what boundaries, again? What boundaries are being crossed that you're having a little bit of a hard time? Like, who do you need to talk to? Who do you need to have a conversation with? And have you had that conversation before? What's not working? Where are the needs not being met? I'm not saying scrap your whole life. I'm saying, what is your desire? And once you know what your desire is, you'll know if your core values are not matching. And if they're not matching your actions, then you can go back to your awareness in that moment. And in the awareness, if you really sit with it, you'll know you need a guide for that. Vancha kalpaturubes chakripa sindubhya eva chapatita nampavani bhyo vaishnave bhyo namo namaha. Dandavat pranams to all my guides and my teachers, and I hope you got some value today. I'll speak with you soon. Radhe Radhe.